Hi, everybody. This is Silvio Canto in Dallas, Texas on Friday, January the 20th, and welcome to our commentary. Well, just a quick heads up, I have a post over at the American Thinker Friday morning about the Prime Minister of New Zealand. She was a very young woman when she became the Prime Minister. She became very popular, around the world with the left, but she became very unpopular in New Zealand because of all the COVID restrictions and lockdowns. And I think the people of New Zealand decided that it was time for a change. She's not running. She has announced that she's going to be resigning on February the 7th or something like that. So, we wish her well. We hope she has a good life after politics. But I think it's another example of what happens when a politician is very heavy-handed with lockdowns and stuff like that. I mean, I think a lot of the countries said, enough is enough. We don't want this anymore, and that's what I think is happening down in New Zealand. So check it out, my post over at the American Thinker about the Prime Minister of New Zealand. Well, let's talk a little bit about a couple of issues today. The debt limit is going to be the big fight in Congress over the next few months. Now, we don't have to do anything about it until, I guess, September is when we have to do. But I'm glad to see that the Republican majority in the House is taking this on straight to the president, because I think we need to do something about the debt limit and our continuation of increasing the debt limit over the years. Now, I want to say here up front that both parties have contributed to the problem. So I'm not just beating up on the Democrats, but I think both sides need to come together and figure this out. Because this idea that, we spend money and then we have to increase our debt limit is not the way we do it. Not when you're talking about a 30 trillion or whatever national debt. At some point, those kinds of issues like debt and stuff like that begin to impact your currency and your inflation. And I think this is the time to hit the brakes. Now, one of the problems with the debt limit is that there's a great deal of exaggeration and alarm, and we're going to destroy the credit of the United States, and we're not going to be able to pay back our obligations. That's just a bunch of crap. That's not what's going to happen. What's going to happen is you still have money coming into the government, because the government doesn't stop collecting taxes just because the debt limit has been reached. So the money keeps coming in, and it comes in very large numbers. So what you do is you've got money coming in, and you've got responsibilities every month that you got to pay, much the same way that it works with a family. I'm sure some of you, just like I've had to do, once in a while, you got to sit down and say, this is how much money is coming in. These are the obligations. Now, within these obligations, which ones do we have to pay? Which ones can we put off? Which ones maybe we don't need? And that's exactly what's going to happen. And that's what needs to happen. Okay. Again, I'm not taking sides here. I think both sides are responsible for the national debt. So I'm not, beating up Democrats and praising Republicans. Both sides have contributed to this. So both sides are going to have to sit down and figure this out. And all of this, alarm about how we're going to destroy our currency or destroy our reputation or destroy our credit rating, or we're not going to be able to pay our obligations, that's just a bunch of crap. Total bunch of crap. Because what will happen is, as I said before, the money comes in every month. We collect taxes at the federal government, billions of dollars that come in on federal taxes. That money goes into one account. And then on the other side of the table, you have a bunch of responsibilities. So what do? You take care of your credit obligations. You take care of your human obligations. Obviously, you take care of the military, and you take care of national security, and you take care of Social Security and stuff like that. And then there are some things you cannot take care of because you cannot afford them. So you got to figure out how you're going to, negotiate those. So you got to sit down with the Congress and say, do we really need this money for this? Can we do better not spending that money? Those are the kinds of debates that hopefully will happen over the next 7 to 8 months. the same kind of debates that happen in every family and every business in the country. So again, the debt limit controversy always turns into a big drama, and you've got a lot of fear mongering about how our credit rating is going to be destroyed, how we're not going to be able to pay our obligations. That's a bunch of crap. That is a bunch of crap. We'll be able to pay our obligations, but we may also have an opportunity to see if all these other things that we're spending on are really responsibilities. And this is where one thing that I hope this Congress will do, I think they will, is that we have to stop voting for things in this country in a big package. What we have to start doing is voting for every single expenditure on a one by one basis. So if you want to build a bridge over here, vote on that. If you want to finance this program, you vote on that. Instead of putting it all together on a big package that nobody reads, you go one by one and you vote for these things. And that's the only way that it's going to be transparent. And that's the only way I believe that we're going to be able to solve this debt crisis. Well, we have too much debt right now, and we cannot continue to add more debt to what we have. And we need an honest debate about all of this. And again, I'm blaming both parties here. So I want to take this out of the partisan attack and make it all about the country, not the party. But I think both sides need to work it out. I think they can. And I don't know what the attitude of the White House is going to be. So far, apparently, they're saying they're not negotiating. Well, that's fine. If they don't want to negotiate, then let that be. But the Republican majority should step forward and present a plan of how we're going to do this with this. And I think they will. I really believe that they will. Well, this week marks anniversary number 50, I believe, of the Roe v. Wade opinion. It was 50 years ago that the Supreme Court issued that opinion. Of course, Roe v. Wade was overturned last year, so it's no longer in place, but there are still going to be, the March for Life and stuff like that in Washington. But what we have to understand, people like me who are pro-life, what we have to understand is that this battle now goes to the states. I think most of us know that, but the battle is now going to be in the Texas legislature, in the Oklahoma legislature, in the Florida legislature, New York legislature, and so on and so on. It's no longer going to be, a national debate. It's going to be how we fight for this at state legislatures. And this is why it is now more important than ever that we pay attention to state elections. Because if you have a Republican majority like we do in Texas, you're going to look at issues differently than a Democrat majority like they do, let's say, in Illinois. And those majorities, Republican here, Democrat in other places, they're going to have a different look at abortion. And they're going to settle this at the state legislature differently in different places. Now, that was the intent of overturning Roe v. Wade. But what I'm getting at is that we have to, as citizens, know that the issue is going to be fixed or debated, if you will, at the state legislature. And that's where we have to focus our attention, our energies, to vote for people who agree with us on the life movement and other issues. But this is now in the state legislatures. That's where the abortion issue is, and that's where it should be. But that's where the battles are going to be fought. I just wanted to briefly mention this, but I think it's about time that we start focusing on the humanitarian crisis on the border and the damage that this border madness is doing to families and doing to people. And, I was looking the other day at an interview with a rancher in South Texas, and she was talking about how people are walking through her ranch. They're stealing cattle. At times have tried to break into their homes. This is not the way it should be. I mean, you cannot allow that on your border. And this administration, for whatever reason, has decided to just open the border and not enforce immigration laws. And they better start doing it. They better start doing it because, as I said, it's a real humanitarian crisis. That's what's really happening on the border. Aside from everything else, it's becoming a real humanitarian crisis. When you see all those people coming in, and when you see the way they're being taken to cities across the country, and many of those cities are not prepared for them. That's the humanitarian crisis that we need to fix at the border. And apparently, this administration has not figured that out. Well, a couple of things on this day in history. First of all, I wanted to just say that I heard the news about David Crosby passing away. David Crosby was a great musician, great songwriter, great performer. He was originally with the Byrds, one of my favorite groups from the 60s and 70s. And then he went on to form Crosby, Stills, and Nash, one of the great trios. I guess Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young. It started out as three and it became four. But they were just a great band, great sound, great songs. David Crosby passed away yesterday at age 83. And he was just a great, great performer. That's all you can say. So thanks for the music, David. It was really, really good. And we remember on this day in 1981 that Ronald Reagan became the 40th president of the United States. As I'm sure you know from your history class, we used to inaugurate our presidents on the 4th of March. And then they changed it. I think the first time it was changed was 1949, I believe, after the 1948 election, when the presidents went from being inaugurated on the 5th of March or the 4th of March to the 20th of January. And ever since, we have been inaugurating presidents. I think originally they thought that they needed more time between the election and the inauguration. So that's why they had almost 5 months time. Then, later they decided to break it down to basically a couple of months between the election and the inauguration. So 20th of January became Inauguration Day. And of course, over the years, we remember presidents being inaugurated that day: George W. Bush, Donald Trump, the first Bush in 89, Ronald Reagan, 81 and 85. So we just remember, and those were fun days for us. I guess it's always more fun for me when a Republican is inaugurated, but that's just my own partisan viewpoint. Well, have a great weekend, everybody. This is Silvio Canto in Dallas. Go Cowboys! They're going to be playing Sunday night, and we hope they win. We hope they beat San Francisco. It's going to be a tough challenge, but you never know. You never know what happens when they play the game. That's why they play the game. Have a great day. Have a wonderful weekend, and we'll talk to you the next time. See you later, folks.